Hello, if you've been here before, welcome back. If not, hi, my name is David. I make videos talking about media that I want to talk about. This is I guess it's going to be some sort of reading vlog of my participation in Isabel's Summer Slasher Readathon. Fellow booktuber and friend Isabel is hosting a readathon that is going from July 24th to the end of July 31st. This entire last week will be dedicated to just reading summer slasher-esque books. And I'm really excited to do that because also part of this reading vlog that I'm wanting to do is that I will be briefly visiting my sister in Georgia for her birthday. I'm not going to be taking videos and stuff at Georgia, but the flight to and the flight back I will read. And so I'll be able to read more books in 1 week than I usually do, have allocated for. So I'm really excited that I have a handful of books to read. And so right now I'm just going to introduce them and talk about them. I'm going to try to talk about the books as I'm reading them after work. And then this will also supplement the last week of reading for my July reading wrap-up. I have already posted that video. I've talked about the books I've read in July. These books, technically, I have also read in July, but this is a readathon, so I wanted to have its own separate video. So I'll talk about my final thoughts for these books at the end as well, and there will also be time codes at the bottom if you want to go to a specific book that I'm talking about. So for this readathon, Isabel has prepared a lot of different things. She has also a schedule for some live shows and group things to do. Because I'm going to be traveling because of work, I unfortunately won't be able to participate in some of them. I'll see which ones I can go to, but the biggest thing is the reading prompts, and then maybe I might do some of the Instagram prompts as well. But the reading prompts themselves, I've already talked about them in my TBR, but I'll talk about them again. Prompt 1 is read a book with a weapon on the cover. I chose Chuck Tingle's Bury Your Gaze with this huge what is that, sledgehammer in the center. And it is about a gay screenwriter who is told that he has to kill off one of his gay characters in his TV show, and he refuses to do so. And because of that, stuff happens. Scary stuff happens. I heard his own creations come out to attack him. So that sounds really exciting. Looking forward to reading this. I'm gonna put this here. Can you see that? Good? Yeah. Prompt 2 is read a book featuring a slasher or a killer. This one is guesswork. It's Julie Chan is Dead by Lian Zhang. This is about Julie Chan, who is a twin sister. Her twin sister, Chloe, is a Instagram influencer, popular influencer, yes. And Chloe dies all of a sudden. And Julie replaces her because she is her twin. But her death, her twin's death, I assume is because she was killed by somebody, and that somebody is like, oh, I killed this girl. Why is she still online? Gonna kill her again. This is guesswork, but this sounds really fun, and I've been wanting to read this for a long time. So next is read a book set in a fair, carnival, or theme park. This is, I don't know if it's stretching it a bit too much, but I'm doing Strangers on the Shore by Adrian Brooke, which is an independently published book set in 1963 on a cruise line. Cruise lines to me have the same idea as like a fair or carnival or theme park. So I'm doing that here because, you know, there's also gambling and there's also games and stuff. And this is a queer romantic thriller. And so I've been wanting to read this for a hot minute. Prompt 4 is read a book with red on the cover. I already got some good choices here, but I decided to go with You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White, which you could say, yeah, the author's text is in red, but also all of these worms are an off-red color. So there's that. I've read an Andrew Joseph White book before, and I didn't quite enjoy it, but that was a YA book, and this is a full adult horror book, so we'll see how I feel about this. Prompt 5 is read a horror novella, manga, or graphic novel. I went with Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This comes highly recommended from Isabel herself. I bought it because she bought it and loved it, and so I found it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read it. And I don't quite know what it's about. I know it's a woman meets another woman at a farmer's market, and that other woman is creepy. And yeah, I have high expectations for this one. And finally, prompt 6: read a book with blood or skull on the cover. And off of the books that I wanted to read, the only book that has a skull or blood on the cover is The Immortal City by B.F. Aubrey, which is the second book of the Eternity Sunrise saga, independently published book as well. Sci-fi, not horror. However, it is a post-apocalyptic series. So there in the first book, where is it? In the first book, August of the People, there were some really not terrifying but thrilling fight sequences, gore, action, stuff like that. So it's like horror adjacent. It's thriller adjacent more than anything. So this is the second book of it, and it has a skull on it. So these are the books that I'll be reading during this readathon. Like I said, I'm going to try to talk about these books as I'm reading them. Usually, I read books while I'm at work, and then so I have planned for 2 days of work, one book. Usually I get 2 days of work is one book, and I work 4 days a week, so one book to begin with and another at work, and then the wait for the plane ride, and then the plane ride itself. The plane ride's only like an hour, but depending on when I get there, I'll have like an extra 2 hours to read ahead of that. That's one book, and I'll finish that in Georgia, and then I'll start another book when I go back to Orlando. And then I have a fifth book that I'm reading on the very last day. And then somewhere in between, I hope to finish reading the sixth book. My goal is to read at least 4 books. I don't know which ones I'll get to. This is heavy. I know Bloom I can read pretty quickly. Depending on how the writing is, Stranger on the Shore and Julie Chan feel like something I could read in one day. But ones that I'm intimidated about is Immortal City. That one's going to be left up last. If I do not get to a book, that will be the last book that I get to. You Weren't Meant to Be Human, I will tackle first. I'll be talking about that one first because that one is thicker, larger, and so I also, when I'm going to be reading it, I've heard a lot of interesting things about this book. When I'm going to be reading, I'll be opening at work, so I'll be reading it in the day, and then next 2 days of work I close. So I don't want to read a really terrifying horror book at night, but I will have to do that for, I'm thinking either Julie Chan or Barrier Gaze, one of those two. And then Fly and Ride is going to be the rest of them. But yeah, let's go over to next clip is going to be me talking about You Weren't Meant to Be Human.
I forgot to say I'm sorry for the audio quality for the next few clips. I'm not going to worry about using a microphone. But, anyways, I had this romantic notion that I would get home from work and talk about the book as soon as I got off of work. And then I got in my car and it was really hot. And I was like, it's really hot in here. So I have to turn on the fan. And the fan was really loud. And I'm like, I'm also really tired. So I'm going to get home, shower, and eat, and then film this. But I said, hey, I need to film this. So I just got home. Anyways, I'm about 2/3 from finishing You Weren't Meant to Be Human, which I started earlier this morning at work. It's been pretty good. I've read, like I said, Andrew Joseph White before. I've read Hell Followed With Us, and I didn't quite enjoy it because it was a bit too YA for me. But he has this similar thing here with the adult queer aspect that I really like. It feels much more akin to queer adult friendships and adult relationships that are outside of like a sexual romantic context. He has that aspect in here that I relate to a lot, so I like that. There is a lot of really terrifying like bug horror, but it's not bugs; it's like worms and flies and stuff like that. That's really cool. However, to me, the most disturbing aspect is the main character Crane. His body dysmorphia when he was growing up as a child is intense and disturbing. The things that he imagines that he wants to do to himself, and the things that he wants other people to do to him sexually, physically, how he saw his own body when he was growing up, is just really disturbing, and that's divorced from the actual horror of the story. That's like that feels the most like realistic aspect of like this person is really messed up and he has no way to talk about these emotions inside him. So that's the most disturbing aspect of that. I am still missing some body horror things. I don't know if I was promised body horror about this book, but it was definitely like I'm reading this. I'm like, there's some interesting, scary things, but I expected body horror, and I'm not getting that. However, what I am getting in terms of horror, in terms of things that are terrifying and disgusting, are really good. And this is a lot more sexual, a lot more gory than I thought it would be, and also the atmosphere of this is absolutely, I wouldn't say amazing, I wouldn't good because I don't like it, in that it is sticky and hot and oppressive, and I felt like I was in this environment the entire time I was reading it, and that's really good. He really manages to write this environment and atmosphere that is reflecting what is happening. Like, I feel dirty, I feel hot, I feel sticky, also because it's Florida and I'm hot and sticky in Florida. But this book made me feel like I was hot and sticky inside a air conditioned room, and I really like that aspect. I think that's a really good treatment, a really good technique in this book. And I most likely will be finishing this book later today, and then I will give my final thoughts for "You Weren't Meant to Be Human." And yeah,
It is midnight, and I already recorded a little bit about this, but I just started rambling. So I finished You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White, and it was really good. I think I'm going to settle on a 4 out of 5. Like I've said before, there is some really disturbing horror about the body dysmorphia that the main character Crane goes to, the things that he wants to do, and then past where I had recorded before, the things he does to himself is really disturbing. And not in a bad way, not good either. Obviously, it's disturbing. But that aspect is more has been more horrifying and more terrifying than the actual supernatural evil hive things like that. The body dysmorphia, and that is was a lot more disturbing than the actual disturbing hive stuff, which is good and bad. I think I usually don't like horror that is very mundane. I don't like things that could be real. I like horror that is more supernatural, could not be real. I usually compare it as like um, body horror. I like it when it's supernatural, like The Substance or Eldritch horror, but I don't like it when it's like surgeries, uh, human centipede, tusk, and stuff like that. Or that a real human could do this type of horror, this type of stuff. I don't quite enjoy that. Here, it worked pretty well. It balanced out the spectacular part of the worms, so that was something to note. And the actual worm horror stuff as well worked really well towards the latter half of this. I wish there was a little bit more information, more lore about the hive and stuff. Maybe that was cut out or removed, but I wish there was a little bit more. What we get was still pretty good, and the impact of it was still pretty good. But I wanted a little bit more for the worm hive stuff. I really like the characters. Crane was a really great main character. He doesn't speak. He's autistic and nonverbal, and the entire story he does not speak, and I think that's really good. And then we also get sections of before he was transitioned, and he is dead named as Sophie, and those sections are also really sad and tragic, seeing how he grew up and seeing how what led him to be this way. The one of the main antagonists, Levi, Crane's not boyfriend, abusive boyfriend, the person who knocked him up, part of the cult, is really horrible. But I liked him as a character. I liked how he's written as an antagonist. Really good. And also there was echoes of sometimes he might be really nice to Crane, but other most of the time he's really horrible. He makes Crane do things, and it's not good, but it's very well written. Another character, Jess, was really good as well. She didn't get that much things to do, but I liked what she was. She doesn't have that much screen time, quote unquote, but she is throughout the entire story there, and I like what she was for the story. Towards the end, there is a plot beat that felt
kind of surprising in that it was not set up and it came out of nowhere and it led to an avenue of a conclusion that was good, but it just came out of nowhere and I didn't know how to feel about that. It was a bit surprising. It felt a little bit like a Deus Ex Machina type of thing, but it was not that intrusive, so it was still pretty good about that. I did like this book better than Hellfall with Us. Like I said, it has some talk about adult queer relationships, and that's a lot more relatable than to me than YA queer relationships. Would I recommend this? I don't know. I would say it's very similar to the movie Immaculate, and I would check those trigger warnings. I would also check these trigger warnings, but if you cannot handle a movie like Immaculate, I would say you should not read this. But if you can, and if you want to read this, then absolutely go for it. Also compare it, I guess, gore wise to what's it's not Sean Carpenter. Who's it? John Carpenter. That's it. John Carpenter's The Thing. Uh, that movie's also like gore wise similar to this book, sorry. But yeah, those are like, I guess, comp titles to this book. But yeah, I think I'm gonna settle on a 4 out of 5. I really like this book, and a really great book to hit off the slasher readathon because, oh my god, this was a lot. I will be starting, I believe, Julie Chan or Bury Your Gaze tomorrow, whichever book has the most pages. Because technically, I plan to read this over 2 days. I read it in one day, so I'm ahead. So let's see how ahead I can get by reading another book tomorrow, and it'll be the second longest book. I think this was the longest book. I forgot to compare it, but I was like, this is the book that I had the most uh, things to worry about, but it pleasantly surprised me. So I was happy that I started with that. So I will update tomorrow as to what book I'll be reading after work.
All right, different day, different angle. Sure. I started reading Julie Chan is Dead, and I'm about halfway through. I'm not fully enjoying it. So it is critiquing influencer culture, and I feel like its critique is not that biting. It's very much, hey, look at that selfish person over there. And that's it. That's all that's being said. Julie replaces her sister after she finds her sister dead, and she pretends to be her rich influencer sister, and now she's reaping the benefits of being this rich influencer. Julie isn't a interesting character enough because she's both not interesting and also a really bad person. And if she was a really bad person but a little bit more interesting, then I would enjoy it a little bit more. But she's kind of bland. She worries a lot about things, and it's kind of boring about that. Not many horror things have happened so far. Visual. Not many horror things have happened so far, but there was one that was pretty good. I assume that's going to ramp up a bit more, but this reads more like a thriller over anything else, like horror, so I'm not fully sure. And also it is very referential, like it references Succession, the show, and Despicable Me, just briefly. And like, I'm not much of a fan of these type of stories that reference popular culture that will uh the reference will die out in a few years. Like, this came out in 2025. In 5 years, I don't know if we'll still be referencing Despicable Me to this level. So I don't know. It's definitely going to age a little badly, but I do like the complexity of her being faking her sister, faking being her sister. And we're getting little teases here and there of like her sister was doing something unscrupulous. Don't know yet what it is. And there's also like a group of friends, influencer women called Belladonas, and I feel like they're going to be like a Heather's type, it's Heather's, Mean Girls. What were they called? They're called something in Mean Girls. I forget. Heather's, Veronica's. No, wait. Heather's? I don't remember. Is it the Heather's? Isn't I don't remember those types. The Honeys, Bunny.
Uh, I haven't read Bunny yet by Mona What, but I have the book and I will read it eventually. But those girls are called something I forget. Anyways, group of girls, women that are friends with each other, but they have some sort of weird ritualistic stuff happening. Probably not there yet. I haven't gotten to that aspect, but she is planning to go to this retreat with this group of ladies, and it's all very secretive and stuff. So I assume something's gonna happen there as well, but I don't know yet. Right now, I'm just not really enjoying the story. I'm kind of a little bored, but at least it reads pretty quickly. I don't think I'm going to finish it later today because I'm just going to finish it tomorrow at work. But we'll see how I feel about it when I get closer to the end. Julie Chan is dead. I do like the cover a lot, though. All right, another day, another angle. I just finished Julie Chan is Dead, and I have a lot of conflicted feelings about it. It definitely got better this latter half more than the first half. I was worried there was not that much horror stuff happening, but once we got to the other half, it got a little bit more horror, and I really liked that. From the get go, I was like, okay, what type of stories is going to be? Like the prompt was supposed to be read a book about a killer or a slasher, and I suspected that the person who had killed Julie's sister Chloe was, well, it was a person who was going to kill her. I was partially right, so at least it still stays within the prompt. And I don't know if this is much of a spoiler or anything, but it is a story about devil worshipping cult, right? I compared it to Midsommar and Ready or Not, with like the rich people being rich because they devil worship, but also like a touch of the menu. It gets much more interesting when they become when Julie and the other influencer girls in this like group of influencer friends become isolated on this in this island. And once they're on that private island owned by the leader of the Belladonnas, Bella Maria, that's when we get into this devil worship story. And I liked that a lot more than what was building up. But I feel like if we're wanting to do this story about the group of people here got super famous because they sacrifice and worship a devil. It's not the devil. It's something else. I don't know if it's based off of anything real or not, but either way, if we were gonna do that, if we were gonna set that up, I wish we would have had a lot more set up of that prior. Have more interesting, speculative, ambiguous things happen to Julie beforehand. All of that she has found is clues here and there that Chloe was feeling some type of way about this group of people. Like things have happened with her adopted family, and that's like some sort of indication that something was happening with Chloe. But I feel like what we were getting in the first half was not enough. I just wanted more of this speculative element spread out throughout the entire story to make it a lot more interesting once we actually get to the actual crux of the story. I also feel like this could have worked better if it was also shorter. It's 300 pages and it reads really quickly, but I honestly, it could have been a lot shorter. It could have just finished at the like when they are able to escape the island and leave it ambiguous as that. I mean, like the menu, same thing. At the end of it, we don't see Margot go to the go to safety, but she's survived. And I kind of wished that it just ended there. It becomes a little court drama in the last like 20 pages, and so that feels a little like quick. I was liking it better once we get to the half, like 3/4 of the way through. I was like, this is actually better than I expected. And then it got a little worse because the decisions that Julie makes learning about the cult makes sense for her character, but not for the story. And I think that was a decision, like a plotting decision that I didn't quite enjoy. And then again, once we get into the like court drama that occurs, then it gets a little like tedious in my mind a little bit. However, I do want to say I loved the last like 2 pages. Nothing really big happens, but it's definitely like setting something up for Julie's story to continue. Not saying that this is going to be a sequel, but that there is definitely more to the rest of her story. and I like that ambiguity. And so I overall had like up and downs with this book. I had also said that there was a critique on influencer culture and like capitalism and stuff like that. It gets a lot more deeper into that critique in the second half, so it's good that that was addressed. And so, yes, I did enjoy this at times. The sections that were horror were really good, and then like other sections were like kind of fine. I had also said before that Julie was not an interesting character. She's an unlikable character, but I think an unlikable character should also be interesting for us to want to consume. She's not that interesting, and I think one thing that could have been used was have her care for something so that we worry about her being found out like she worries about. Like the only thing that like we could care about here is that she's found out, but if she is found out, I don't care because I don't like her as a person. As a character, she's well, okay, yeah, the same thing. Like as a character and a person, she's kind of boring. I don't care about her. So if she gets found out, oh well, she gets found out. Bad stuff happens to her. She did something bad. If she cared about something, then we can have this ambiguity of morals. Of like, okay, yeah, she did this really bad thing, but she's also trying to take care of her aunt, maybe. But no, her aunt's like really bad, whatever. That I had said that, and I stand by it. However, that was used as a strength for her, which I liked. Not going to go into specifics there, but the fact that she is kind of disconnected from people is used in a really interesting way here. The like it's set up. Let's say it's set up, and then it is used in the story, but doesn't pay off in any super fun way. Actually, I'm just gonna spoil it. If you want to get to my very last thoughts on spoiler thoughts, this is the time code. Anyways, Julie doesn't care about anyone when she is in this group of cultists. They tell her to be indoctrinated into our group. You have to sacrifice something that you really care about. But she, at that point, doesn't care about anybody. And when she's going to tell this cult member that what to sacrifice, she's trying to think, okay, what do I care about? I don't care about my aunt. I don't care about my cousin. I don't care about anything except for the group of friends that I've made here of these cult members. And then there's a sign that, like, if there is a god or not, if there is a devil or not, they listened to that, and so she's gonna sacrifice these women. But we don't see that sacrifice happen. She ends up killing them, and that's not as exciting. I wanted, like, if it's actual devil thing, hey, they were killed because of the devil, and if not, they still should have died accidentally. I don't think she should have killed them. I don't think that was an interesting turn for the story, and that also led to a villain monologue from Bella Maria, and I didn't quite enjoy that. But anyways, spoilers done now, and I think I'm giving this a 3.5, 3.75. I'll struggle within that. It's not a 4. It's not a less than a 3. It was going to be a 3 in the first half, and then once we got into the second half, I was like, this is really good, so I'm going to do 3.75, and then it got a little like not that good, so I was like a 3.5, and then like I said, the last 2 pages were like kind of really good, so I'm gonna struggle with that a little bit more, but I will talk about it in my recap. I think I'm gonna give it a 3.75 for now. So I will be starting, I think I'm gonna start Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson tomorrow, because I have just one last shift of work, and then I have my plane ride early in the morning, so I will definitely not even be able to update about Bloom until like a hot minute later, and then I'll be in. I think the next time you're gonna see me here is gonna be when I'm in Georgia. So we'll see. We'll see. But I definitely will be starting. It's a novella, so it's shorter, and I can probably read it in one shift of work. So we'll see. Anyways, I guess you'll see me next when I'm in Georgia. It's been a long day. I'm in Georgia right now. So yeah, yesterday at work, one shift, I was able to read the entirety of Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. Really liked it. I think I'd give it a 4 out of 5. I don't have the book with me, so here's a picture of it. I really liked it. I think it was the perfect length, and I like the slow buildup of Ro and Ash's relationship, and then the revelation of what Ash was not surprising, but still caught me off guard because there's so many clues here and there, but we can't really like coalesce them into like what it is that is off. And I like that this book, like I knew coming in, this was a horror. And so like you see all these little tiny clues that to Ro would seem a little innocuous, but I knew that I'm reading a horror book, so this has to mean something. So I like that this book used the knowledge that it is a horror story to help build that mystique around Ash, and I like that a lot. I also did like the last chapter. If you know, you know. However, it did feel a little cliche, a little. No, I don't want to say cliche, but like, it felt like I was reading the last chapter, last section of a creepypasta. But it was still pretty good, and I did really enjoy it. And it says it in the acknowledgement that it is a. She wanted to create this as a hot female serial killer like Hannibal. It's very inspired by Hannibal. So I got that instantly. Also, for some reason, I also kept thinking about this other book, Intuition by K.T. Carlisle, which is an independently published book that I read a year ago. And it had a somewhat similar premise of a woman falling in love with another woman. That other woman is evil somehow. And so I just kept thinking about that one. Both are pretty good, but I think I preferred Bloom to Intuition. But either way, both great stories. Bloom really good, and I will want to read more Delilah S. Dawson. And then moving on from that, I'm so tired because I had to wake up early in the morning to go on my flight, and for what it was like from like 3:40 till when we landed, which is around like 6:40. That's 3 hours. I got through the vast majority of Barrier Gaze by Chuck Tingle. This is my first Chuck Tingle book, and I just now finished it like 5 minutes ago, and I loved it. It is a 5 out of 5. This is, Misha is a screenwriter who's told that he has to kill off his gay characters in his passion project. When he refuses, he starts getting attacked by the creations that he has made. And I really enjoy that because it is both meta commentary about the way stories are made and also commentary about the stories he has made, because we also dive into past moments of his that were not egregiously backstory, right? Like sometimes you're reading some backstory and it's like, this is very, very backstory heavy. This had 3 chapters, very small chapters of his backstory, which really helped flesh out who he was growing up, and I really liked them. It was efficient writing there. And the rest of this is also really fun. The way that he talks about his creative process and the way he talks about Hollywood and movies and horror. Loved it. I feel like this book was tailor made for me because it just kept saying the right things, and I was like, yes, absolutely. So I had a lot of fun with this. I think that there's some little pacing issues towards the front half. I feel like the plot meandered a bit, especially when Misha, for like a brief interlude, goes to his high school reunion, which doesn't really bring anything to the story, but it does help move character beats. But it does get better towards the middle half when we start getting into the horror creatures coming in and attacking. Really fun. And also I like that it's different types of genres of horror and also genres of movies as well. There's spy thrillers and reality TV and stuff, but then there's also cosmic horror, slasher horror, supernatural, ghost horror, stuff like that. So I like that it was touching on different things there. I would assume that this is somewhat also, I don't know if it's inspired, but the ideas came from how people thought of supernatural, because in the book, Misha watched a show like X-Files, like Supernatural, where 2 main male characters are working together to investigate Monster of the Week esque stories, and he gets gay baited by that. And so his passion project is that story, but gender swapped. So it's 2 lesbians, and he's told that they have to die. Either make them straight and they live, or kill them off, but you can make them gay. And so that's the big central story at the beginning. Totally saw that as like a reference to X-Files slash mainly Supernatural and what was happening with Dean and Cass, etc. I was there in the trenches. So I really like that aspect as well. And just how much passion Misha has for creating and how he has to deal with the Hollywood system is really interesting. And it's like, I want to get into that. I want to screenwrite. I want to write stories for people to consume. And so this was really fun. Also enjoyed all the characters, like Tara, who is, I compared her to, so if you are on Tumblr, you remember All or Nothing, that like Tumblr scam. Tara is the asexual who's like super bubbly, outgoing asexual character. That's Tara. And then Misha's boyfriend didn't have a strong character, but he was a consistent character, and I like that. And they helped bring the stakes up in really interesting ways. They all felt like real people. Misha felt like a real person. I loved how the characters were written. Everything was just firing off the right cylinders. Is that the right term? I keep saying it wrong, I think. I think, whatever. I think the ending was a little slower paced than I wanted it to, but it was still ending in a great way. And it was also great commentary on generative AI and computers replacing people in roles of creation. Like, computers should be made to help replace monotonous tasks, but people are using them to replace creative tasks. And that's not how it should be. So it was commentary on that, and I really liked that as well. And it was just, this was just a really great book. I do not 100% feel like I'm in love with this book, and I don't know why. I'm gonna chalk it up right now that I read it in one full sitting, 3 hours, on a plane, waiting to get onto the plane, and then on the plane itself. And that was like at 3 in the morning. So maybe I'm just a bit too tired that when I was reading this, I just intellectually everything was hitting off the right cylinders. Is that the term? I don't remember. But I was just also tired, so I couldn't really feel that much. But like looking at it all, there's not that many big critiques that can bring it down to like a 4.75, 4.5, or whatever. No, everything was really good. Maybe I wanted more. Maybe I wanted more horror. Maybe I wanted more gore. But then I think about the gore that was given to me, and I was like, honestly, there's some sick, awesome gore here. There's some sick, awesome horror scenes here as well. So I'm just greedy. Love this book. Really fun. On my flight, okay. On my flight back, I'll be reading Strangers on the Shore by Adrian Brooke or Ren Brooke. I'm still not 100% sure what it is. It is a queer romantic thriller. A woman who goes on a cruise with her brother and her brother's lover, and I'm guessing it has to deal with what's it, mob stuff maybe. I hope it's supernatural too. I'm not fully sure, but is this, looks espionage-y, Sorry, Bloom's prompt was read a novella, a horror novella, manga, or graphic novel. I did the novella, obviously. And then Barrier Gaze was the weapon, sledgehammer weapon. I wish the sledgehammer was represented more, or used more, quote unquote, in the story, but at least I understand why this is here. It is like quasi central antagonist connected, so there's that. And then this is a book set on a like carnival fair or something like that. And I keep saying it, no one's corrected me, so I'm like, maybe I'm right. I feel like cruise lines are similar to festivals and carnivals and stuff like that. So that's this one. This is independently published as well. And I know that Ren Brooke works or is part of like the Malevolent fandom. That's how I found their book. So we'll see how this book goes. I'll be starting it when on my flight back, and that's gonna be on Thursday. I'm gonna take a break from readathon because this is what it was. You Weren't Meant to Be Human, Julie Chan, Bloom, Chuck Tingle, Barrier Gaze. Now this is the 5th book, and if I don't finish this on the flight, then I'll finish this on Friday, and it'll be the last book that I read in the readathon, which means that I got only to like 5. But this is the last immediate. I need to get started on this book for the readathon. But yeah, super excited. The next time I'll talk to you is when I'm back in Orlando, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Okay, I guess we're on this side now. I'm in my car. I'm about to get into work. I'm back in Florida. Yay! I had a really great time in Georgia with my family. And I finished Strangers on the Shore by Ren Brook on my plane ride over. I absolutely adored this book. I give it a 5 out of 5. I don't have it physically, obviously, so here's a picture. It is a queer noir espionage thriller set on a cruise in the 1960s, and the main character is the sister of a man who is both gay, or I think he's bisexual, in love with a man, and they are getting not blackmailed, but they have this man has information on his boyfriend who could lead him to be killed by the government, and so he's trying to get that information from him. And the sister Yuking is gets involved into this despite Ting Sen trying not to get her involved, and it devolves into like an espionage thriller, and I really liked it. I absolutely adored it because it touched on espionage and how queer people had to hide themselves during this time and what they did to help them be who they were. And I absolutely loved Ting Sen and Jin Zhao's relationship. I absolutely loved them together. And then I also love the family because it's not only just Tin Sen and Yuqing, but also I don't have my book. I believe it's Chuquan and Chibun. Chibun is not part of their family, but is basically like a family friend. And then Ting San is also adopted, but he was adopted when he was 6 years old. So they're basically one family. And then Yuqing's husband, Lawrence, is also there. Really like everyone's connections to each other. And like their relationship, everyone had so much chemistry together, and so it was so fun seeing it. This wasn't a horror; it was more of a thriller. There was one horror section that was just like a dream sequence that Ting Sang has, but overall it is just a thriller, which was really fun, and I really like how it resolved. In a way that was surprising yet still expected, and this story is very queer forward, feminist forward. There's a lot of different characters, but the side characters that are outside of this family don't overshadow anybody in any way. I honestly wish that there was a little bit more about the other people on the cruise, because usually I would read like some sort of mystery or like locked room, whatever story where it's like on a train, on a cruise, in a hotel, whatever, and it's just an eclectic group of people. There was a large group of people in this ship that they were on the cruise, some that they focused on, but no big story elements happened with them beyond just the man that is blackmailing them, and also his wife. His wife was a big deal as well, but like the other characters there was like a glossary, is that what it's called? I forget it. When they list all the cast of the characters, they had listed some of the other passengers, and some of them didn't really have to do much with the story, so they sort of like blended in. But at least the ones who were important were very well used. At first, I was sort of confused as to why this story mostly centered on Yuqing as the main character. In the first chapter, it's her point of view. Or in the first section, it's 5 sections, each has a few chapters. In the first section, it's her point of view. And I liked it, but I was like, I wasn't knowing where the story was going to go. And then the second section, a few chapters, was in Ting Sang's point of view, and he gave us context for everything. So everything that we saw prior in the first section gets recolored. And I remember reading the second section and finding things out, and I went back to reread some section in the first section, and then when I returned to reading it, it did rehash what was happening before in a better light, or in a different light, and so I was like, that's really fun. So I had a lot of fun reading this, and I just absolutely adored it. I give it a 5 out of 5. Was less tired than I was when I was reading Barrier Gaze. I don't know if I like this one more than Barrier Gaze or not. I'd have to think about it, but both are very queer forward stories, and one is modern day screenwriter dealing with the horrors, and the other is queers in history doing espionage. Both are really good. I need to read more of both types of stories. Like, I want to say that I've read a handful of espionage stories, but not off the top of my head. And then like queer horror. I haven't read that much horror in general, but I guess like You Weren't Meant to Be Human is also a queer horror that I really enjoyed. So yeah. Now to the last book of this readathon, I'll be reading The Immortal City by V.F. Aubrey, which is book 2 of the Eternity Sunrise saga. This covered the prompt of read a book with a skull or blood on the cover, and I read this first book. This is an independently published sci-fi series set in a post-apocalypse world where before the world fell into an apocalypse, scientists brought back a lot of megafauna for different reasons, like mastodons for like labor, and then like I think they did saber-tooth for like hunting maybe, and then that easily led to scientists bringing back Neanderthals for slave labor. And then the end of the world came. I don't remember why, or I don't know if we talked about why the world fell in the first book. If not, we'll get to it in this book. The Neanderthals are their own quote-unquote species, quote-unquote group of people, and I really liked the way that they handled this conflict between the Neanderthals and humans. And the main character, August, is half Neanderthal, half human, and so he's like the bridge between two worlds. And in this story, we are going with August as he escorts the prisoner of Captain Simbala, who was an exile. No, he pretended to be an exile from Future City, but in reality, he was searching for the remnants of a Neanderthal revolution that happened. That ended up being August's parents. And so August is returning to that future city with his prisoner, Captain Simbala. I don't remember why he's doing that. Maybe so he can like figure out like what's happening with this world and stuff. And at the same time, his girlfriend is in her new tribe. No, she was exiled from her old tribe, so she's in a new tribe now, and she's trying to learn new things with the Neanderthal tribe. And so it's just expanding the world, and so I'm really excited to read it. Definitely not a thriller, definitely not horror, but it has a skull in it, so I'm reading it. I'm hoping to read at least a third to half of it during my shift at work today, and then go from there. This is the last day of the readathon, so I hope to attend. Isabel's been putting out live shows and reading sprints and stuff like that, but because of my schedule, because of me traveling, I was not able to go to them. But now is the last day. I'm going to try to go to it after I get home from work. And if I don't get to finish this book today at work, I'll finish it during her reading sprints. So yeah, I'll be back to talk about the book when I just get home from work, and then I will do a final wrap-up review of the 6 books that I read for the Summer Slasher Readathon. So I'll see you then.
Isabel's reading spurts are coming soon. I have so much to do before then. Anyways, I'm halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through of the Immortal City. I am feeling like I might DNF this, but I'm going to hold off. If I cannot finish this for today, then I'm just going to DNF it for like a weekend and maybe come back to it. I don't know. It's been fine. It's not been as good as the first book. I really liked the first book because it felt like a Game of Thrones-esque spread out political drama, and like a lot of different politics are happening in this different setting. That was really fun. And the main character, August, in the first book was really good. Now here, August is still good, but I feel like he is a sharp weapon he is a blunt weapon in a situation that requires something more precise, like a knife. That's the metaphor, or something like that, whatever. In his situation right now, he is the type of character who doesn't really do much except react, and he's not that proactive, and he's not good with like making allies that stick, besides just accidentally making friends with the foreign queen that is brought to marry the king of the city. So that's one thing. The other thing is that it's mainly 3 points of views for Astric. The asterisk is included with the other point of view of, like I said, Trilly she is part of the Neanderthal tribe. There's also at times the point of view of, there's actually like 5 asterisk points of view. So first asterisk is Trilly, and then the point of view of Hercules, who is a prisoner of war in the same tribe that she helps. But we haven't gotten much POVs of him in a hot minute, so I don't know if we're going to come back to her or not. And Trilly's story is proving herself to be a worthy leader for the Neanderthal tribe. That is fine, I guess. It feels a lot less high stakes than what's happening with August, even though the things with her friends being there as well. If she doesn't take power, someone else is going to take power, and that person's going to be pretty bad. But it feels less actively high stakes than the active high stakes of August in this immortal city. And then the other point of view, not the asterisk, the actual other point of view is Dr. Plank, who is August's mentor slash adopted father, who is in this oddish relationship with this woman and her child, who's named after him because this woman and her husband was being helped by Dr. Plank. Her husband died in the first book, and she and the Dr. Plank are traveling north to get to the city of a different group of people called the Piranhas, because they're trying to figure out how they are being allied with the Immortal City. I don't care. I don't care for Plank. I don't care for his name's Ellis, and then the young child is also called Ellis. But they go back and forth between calling him Young Ellis and Bones, that's his nickname, and then Plank, Dr. Plank, or Ellis, and then Astrid is the mother. I don't care about them. I don't care about them at all, and so I'm mostly skimming through those passages. And the other point of view asterisk is the daughter of August's prisoner, Captain Simbala. She gets disgraced because of his failure, and she has to run away, and she begins working with the Neanderthal resistance inside the Immortal City. And so we've gotten only two. She was a prologue, or is that epilogue? I think it's prologue, right? She was a prologue, and then we got another section of her in the center here, and that was really good. So I don't know how far that's gonna go. Not much of a fan of it so far, but I'm still gonna keep going with it. A plot beat just happened that got really juicy, so I'm actually kind of excited about that. But I just don't care for Ellis's point of view sections, so I just skim those. So that's already like a knock against this book. So we'll see how it goes. Hello, I'm gonna DNF this book. I feel really bad because this is an independently published book, and I really enjoyed the first book. The second book is going down some paths that I am not entirely enjoying. In that I don't know if I don't. It's not a technique thing. He writes really well. The characters are really good. But there's some things that I just things are going to pile up that I'm like, I don't care anymore. Like I said before, we had a POV of the daughter of Simbala, who was one of the main antagonists of the first book, and she had a really interesting point of view early on. The way that she was written wrote her to be a young girl. I want to say maybe 14, 13 years old is what it felt like. Maybe a little older, but definitely a little child. And August is immediately attracted to her, and he feels like she's gonna change his life. And I'm like, no, no, I don't like that. In the first book, he had this already established relationship with this girl. I think I forgot to mention that when I said Trilly is his cousin. I got them mixed up. The girl, he had this established relationship with a girl named Gabriella, but then they had to break up, but not break up. They didn't officially break up, from what I remember. It was like he had to leave and she had to stay, and he was like, you need to stay because this is better for you to stay in this valley. And that was like the separation. So they're not together right now officially, I guess. But then he meets Cassia, and it's almost immediately oh my god, she makes me flustered. And I'm like, there's no chemistry here. There's no connection between them. Cassia is so focused on trying to make sure her father is alive, and August is just besotted with her without getting to know her, which is okay, awesome. I don't care. Trilly
in her storyline is eventually finds a way to become the leader of the Neanderthals, and everything was very predictable in how it was coming around. And all the antagonists there in that area are cartoonish and one note. The king in, I forgot to mention this, the king in Ambrosius is his name in the Immortal City, is also a one note antagonist. And honestly, so okay, he has this foreign queen come in, and that marriage is going to make him a little bit more powerful, whatever. I would have much preferred August to have a relationship with her. I don't want to say romantic exactly, but definitely like, oh, we're gonna have this connection here because we are both trapped in here, but we have some political power. But then like August like messes up and does something, and that means he's able to escape to the rebellion of the Neanderthals, and there he all of a sudden meets his aunt, and that came out of nowhere, and I was like, I don't care anymore. And it just sucks because I really liked the first book. I really like where it was going, but this book I just don't care where this is going. I read the last page and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. That's really predictable and stuff. And yeah. Anyways, I am right now in Isabel's, there's Isabel right there. I have it muted right now. We're in the reading sprints. This is the music. Hi, Isabel. And yeah, I can't keep reading this book. I might be a soft DNF in that I will come back to it later, but right now through these reading sprints, I'm like, I don't want to keep reading this. I was like, I'm going to use these reading sprints to just keep finish this book, but I'm like, if I do that, these reading sprints are not going to be fun at all. So yeah, just not gonna keep finishing this book. So that means that's all the books I had to read for my summer slash readathon. And yeah, I think I'm gonna participate in one more event here with Isabel, and then I'm going to have to do other stuff. But yes, um, thank you, Isabel, for hosting these. I've never been to a reading sprint. This is actually kind of fun. I don't want to start another book tonight, so I'm not going to continue doing another reading sprint or keep doing the reading sprints. I've never done a reading sprint before, and I don't know if other people do it this way, but Isabel, how she's been doing it, this one that she was doing, the last one, is that for 30 minutes we read with like some calming music. This is the calming music, you heard it. Yeah. And then like she has like an activity to do, and that was really fun. And so if that is how other people do reading sprints as well, I kind of want to do that as well. But also those reading sprints tend to happen at times during that clash with my schedule, so we'll see. It was fun. I like it. So yeah, anyways, I will be back to talk about my final discussion with the summer slash readathon.
All right, I have completed the summer slasher readathon hosted by Isabel Reed. Thank you so much, Isabel, for hosting this. This was a lot of fun. I was very lucky that I had 2 flights that coincided with this week, visiting my sister. And so I was able to read a lot more than I usually am able to read. Technically, I only completed 5 out of 6 books, but I read 6 books. Yeah, we'll talk about it. You know what happened. So, obviously, I started with You Weren't Meant to Be Human. I absolutely adored this book. I bumped it up to a 4.5 out of 5. It is some very visceral horror, but the most terrifying aspect is a very mundane psychological horror. And I really enjoyed that. And also, queer, trans character, autistic character. I liked his not growth so much as degradation of character in a good way. And the decisions that he makes towards the end are terrifying and visceral and horrifying. And I loved it. Maybe it pushed a bit too far for me, but I can handle it. And it was really good. And I was so happy with this book and where it took me. So, really good. Followed that up with Julie Chan is Dead. I gave a 3.75 out of 5. Because it's Julie Chan, I bumped up You Weren't Meant to Be Human because I had it at 4, and Julie Chan at 3.75, and then Meant to Be Human at 4 felt too close to each other. So okay, bump that up, and then 3.75. That feels right for Fu Julie Chan. Disappointed me a little bit in its plotting, but the character actions were good. I understood why this character was uninteresting. It worked in her favor, and the cult demon devil worshipping aspect could have been integrated more in the story, but it worked for what it wanted to do. The last 20 pages felt a bit superfluous, but that's fine. Followed by Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. Novella, read it in one night, really good. Queer, lesbians, late bloomer. She was like 27 and had divorced her husband or broke up with his husband, I forget, but starts falling in love with this woman, and turns out woman is actually a serial killer, which I don't know if it's like a spoiler, but like she's evil. How evil? I'll let you find out by reading it first. You can barely see that. There you go. And I liked the build up to it. It was a very slow build up, and the detail. The detail is so good, and I felt sick with how much food was being consumed here, how much sweet food was being consumed, and then learning about the truth of that food, so good. And the last chapter, a little cheesy, but I liked it. I liked what it was doing. And it was the perfect length too. I read it in one night, one shift at work, right before I had to leave for my plane ride. So pretty good. Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. I gave this a 5 out of 5. I absolutely adored this book. I read it on my first flight to Georgia, and I want to say like 5 out of 5s. I kind of feel I want to have this. I'm just gonna hold it like the 5 out of 5 buzz. I feel like I was too tired to fully enjoy this book. I started reading this at 3:30 in the morning because I had to get there at that time for my plane at 5, and then I finished it around like 6 or 7 a.m. Plane arrived at that time, and then I had like less than 100 pages left, and I finished it later that night. Loved Misha, loved the horror elements. Uh, I kept saying to myself, I wish there was more horror elements, but then I kept looking back at the horror elements that were there, and I was like, no, that was really good. And then that was also really good. And then this was over here really, really good too. Because I've been so consumed in here with these 3 books of like serious horror. Not saying this is unserious horror, but this was also some comedic elements added to it. Like when there was horror, there was horror. But also some comedic moments. So that kind of added some juxtaposition that was good. Distracting a little bit, I don't know. But I still really enjoyed what it was doing, both in the horror, the comedy, the character relationships. There's not romance in here as a subplot, but it is a subplot, I guess, and that developed in a good way as well. Um, I There was a moment when I was reading this, so I was like, okay, the character Misha has to figure out how to survive what's happening to him. And once he does that, he then has to figure out how to stop the thing from hurting anyone else. But I, tired, was like, okay, he figured out how to survive. That's it, right? And then it continues, and I was like, why are we continuing? But yeah, it makes sense why he has to continue to stop this thing, because just because you stop one thing from hurting you doesn't mean you stop from affecting change. And I like that. I like that message because he figured out how to save himself. Now he has to save other people. And I really like that. Camp Damascus was mentioned here. So I kind of want to read that next. And then like Lucky Day, and then like what's the one with the glasses? I forget what it's called. Really good, 5 out of 5. Quickly followed by Strangers on a Shore by Adrian Brooke. 5 out of 5 as well. Queer espionage thriller. Love the characters, love the espionage elements, the intrigue. The buildup of what was happening felt a little confusing because it was a Chinese cultural representative in Switzerland. His wife was a spy for Russia? Question mark. That got a little confusing and got a little bogged down. But the fact of the fact was she was spying on the Chinese and the Russians, and the Swiss or something like that, and so that put people in danger, which led to Yukying and her brother, who was the lover of the son of the woman who was being a traitor, to be embroiled in this mess. I kind of did not like that we left the cruise towards the third act, but I understand what was happening. I wanted to stay on the cruise. I wanted to stay going to really interesting locations, but I understood why. And even then, the last setting in there in France is really cool. So at least we got that. But yeah, 5 out of 5. Loved, 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 loved. Queer spies. And finally, The Immortal City by V.F. Aubrey, book 2 of the Eternity Sunrise Saga. I am DNFing this book at around 8%. That's how people say it, I think. I did the math. I think technically it's 77.77 something percent. 80% of this book I read, and I just did not enjoy what direction it was heading compared to the first book. And I'm not going to subject myself to this anymore, this being the last day of the summer readathon. So that is that. I also, I guess, wanted to rank them. So I have Bury Your Gaze, Stranger in the Shores, and S tier, amazing. A tier, You Weren't Meant to Be Human. B tier, Bloom, only because I didn't have any strong emotions about it. It was just really good, but I don't have any strong emotions for it, you know? And then Julie Chan, because it disappointed me. And Julie Chan would have been the lowest ranked if I had wanted to continue reading this book, if I even liked The Immortal City, but I just could not finish it, and I'm just not even rating it on Goodreads because I can't. I'm sorry. So that has to be in the lowest tier. But yeah, this also serves to be my reading wrap up for the last week of July. So yeah, I wasn't able to do any of the other things that uh Isabel had planned. I was only able to go to just briefly pop in for a live stream in the first day on the 24th. And then today I was able to do some reading sprints to just get through a little bit of The Immortal City. But I decided I wanted to DNF it and then film other stuff and do other work. So I need to take a shower too. Just stopping here. Great month. Great month of reading. At least 4 out of 5 amazing books. One pretty fine book. I think this would be a very successful readathon. So yeah, I don't know if I want to participate in another readathon soon because I still have so many books that I need to read. But if you know of someone who's hosting a readathon in September or October, please let me know. I would love to do something about that. You push myself a bit more in my reading and get more books read. Thank you again to Isabel. Go check out Isabel's channel. She's amazing. She's so fun. She and I are going to be doing a buddy read of Chain Gang All Stars by Kwame Ajebrenya this month in August. That's it. And also, before I forget, join me and Steph over Coffee Over Apples for our Sword of Kaigen read along. The live show we'll be hosting on Steph's channel on August 7th at 8 p.m. So if you read this book or want to read it, you have about a week to read this as of I think I'm going to put this video out tomorrow. Or if you just want to listen to us talk about this book, please do. I really enjoyed reading this book and I loved ML Wang. And in the description below will be the link to our Goodreads group where you can talk about this book if you so desire. Join us there. I'd love to see you there. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your friends. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to be passionate, and I'll see you later.